Hey everyone. It's been a minute. Yes, you are reading the title of this video right. This is a video about 2021 in the last month of 2022.
Parker, you're late, man. Always late, huh? I'm sorry.
My 97 subscribers.
I had a very busy year, which I'll talk more about in my 2022 video, which put this video way behind schedule, as if I have one of those at all. But I wanted to make a video talking about every piece of media I consumed in 2021, and this is kind of my last chance to do so. And for my friends who knew I was working on this and were excitedly waiting for it, I am so sorry for the wait. So why am I doing this? Well, I wrote my reasonings a while ago, and reading it back, it's maybe a little too sincere. So we're gonna read it kind of sarcastically with some cheesy music to cut away from the cringe a bit. Lately, I've been obsessed with memory and how fragile and impermanent it is. In a time of my life where so much of my daily routine has been wake up, go to work, go home, go to sleep, wake up, repeat, I feel like my memory has been blurrier than in previous years. It's all just blending together. And that sucks. So I've been trying a few different strategies to combat this since I started noticing it early in 2020 in the infancy of this goddamn pandemic. For starters, whenever something sparks that little bit of joy in me, I'll often take a picture and save it to my Snapchat memories so I can be reminded of it every year on its anniversary of the moment. Simple things like a meal I was excited to get into, comics and games I picked up, packages in the mail, pretty views, and quiet moments with friends I'll often capture just for myself. This way I don't entirely forget and lose these simple memories that made me smile in a time where that's been getting harder to do. Okay, enough of that. That's a stupid bit anyways. Now, all this talk about memory is relevant to the topic of today's video because at the start of 2020, I made a goal where I wanted to keep a list of all the things I was going to consume throughout the year. Whether it be anime, TV shows, movies, games, and God, hopefully a few books and albums, I wanted to keep track of it all so I could remember what I spent my time doing throughout the year. I did that for maybe 2 weeks and then I forgot about it. 2020 was a blur and I don't remember any of it. So when 2021 rolled around, I wanted to revisit the idea of the list and this time do it right. I spent way too much time in 2020 dicking around on my phone and hating myself for not being able to summon the energy to do anything new. What a time it was where watching a movie was too exhausting. Not a great year for me and many others. So to address this feeling going into the new year and to make sure I was trying to experience as much new media as possible, I knew that the list was my best shot at holding myself accountable to this goal. And this time, it worked. So throughout the year, I kept a list of what I watched, what I read, what I played, what I listened to, and who I subscribed to. YouTube is a pretty big player in terms of how I entertain myself, and I wanted to make sure I was representing that in some way here. So I'm gonna go over with you the things I consumed in 2021. I won't speak in detail about all of them or we'd be here all day, but the things I want to share my thoughts on, I definitely will. And one last thing before we get into it, I know there are more important things to want to remember about your life than just the entertainment you consume. I certainly have my fair share of really important personal moments and memories in 2021 that I'll make sure I don't forget, but this is the wrong place to share those. And while I may not have spent my year making endless core memories that are gonna be a part of me for the rest of my life, I still really value how I spent my time in 2021. And I think it's worth remembering and reflecting upon, especially since I ended 2020 so frustrated, feeling like I had wasted the time I'd been given. Now, with all that being said, let's get into it. So this being earlier in the video, meaning I likely will have more eyes tuning in now before I inevitably lose their attention as this drags on, I want to talk about the YouTube channels I subscribe to. That way you have a few channels you can check out and support if they sound interesting to you. I am an inhabitant of this small creator space, so if I can get some new eyes on the channels that I love, that would make me really happy. Joel Haver. Okay, most of you probably already know about Joel Haver, but he's still getting a mention here. Joel is so genuinely funny, and he's clearly a very gifted filmmaker. The amount of short films he produces so quickly is insane to me. As someone whose favorite part of high school was my film class, I made my fair share of shorts ranging from funny to serious to attempting to be scary to, well, bad. And the deadlines for these videos made me cut so many corners. So for Joel to release so many short films so quickly, and they always look and sound great and are funny, is just inspiring. Also, his videos blast me back to my early days on YouTube, loving the hell out of Julian Smith and Nigahiga, and I really appreciate him for that. Mutroid X Productions. You're gonna hear me talk about talent a lot in this part of the video because I admire the talent in basically all the YouTubers I subscribe to this year. Charlie is so damn talented at stop motion animation and so many other things as well. I absolutely love his animations that he's poured hours into, and I also adore the breakdown videos that he does as well. His video series breaking down the process behind animating Toa Tenja versus Meat Slinger is something I've watched several times and have learned a lot from. Notably, designing the characters to be fit for animating and the careful blocking of shots for a fight scene is something I've tried to apply to my own work this year. And his short film, The Sky Below, is amazing and deserves more views, so please go watch it. Anime Figures. I am such a huge fan of Danielle's videos. I watch them the second I'm able whenever a new one appears in my sub box. Her personality is infectious and entertaining and perfectly suited for YouTube. I wish I could be as naturally engaging in my videos as she is, but I'm not. Hence all the hiding behind cuts and wacky edits and all of this shit. If you want a cozy channel to relax to and laugh with, Anime Figures is definitely for you. Mike Starwalker. Mike's lightsaber choreography is inspiring. I had much more fun watching his fights than actual lightsaber fights in the movies, so that right there is a testament to his work. At the start of my year, I did a lot of stuff with lightsabers, and his videos gave me lots of great tips for practice and choreography and choosing appropriate sabers for dueling. Check him out. Actually, that's just gonna go without saying. From here on out, I recommend all these channels. They're definitely worth your time. Hachiroku24. Hachiroku24 makes incredible Lego mocks, and they're really fun to watch the process of how they're built. I'd give anything for the Spider-Man related ones to be official retail sets. Gio San Pedro. Cinematic ASMR Gold. My stepdog almost just like knocked over my leg. Sorry. Cinematic ASMR Gold. I want to make hella Gundams watching his videos. I also wish I could make my videos half as beautiful as his. Macho Nacho Productions. Tito is a lot like Joel Haver in just how unbelievably consistent he is. I have watched his videos every Thursday since I discovered his channel, and I'm blown away by the quality. His Thick Boy SP is something I've wanted for years, and I cannot wait to be able to support the project when it comes time for crowdfunding. He's inspired me to learn about soldering in the retro modding community, and I just can't recommend his videos enough. The Retro Future / Elliot Cole. Elliot makes videos in the same niche as Tito, and is just as great of a channel to watch for retro gaming / modding content. His setup is iconic and his style is really chill and relaxed. I also loved his second channel and eagerly watched every house renovation video as they came out. Working with Walken. Speaking of my love for house renovations, Working with Walken is just so great. I've learned so much from his videos, and they are all entertaining and so satisfying. Also, Liam seems like a really wonderful human being. He doesn't have too many videos, as if I'm one to talk, but I can't wait for more to hit my sub box. Jang's based Lego reviews. I got back into Lego in many ways this year, and watching Jang again has been a big part of that. I watched his original Hero Factory reviews 11 years ago. God. Oh. Well, anyways, I watched his old Hero Factory reviews as a kid to help me decide which ones I wanted to buy because I was a broke kid and had to be very choosy with what little spending money I had. So when I saw Jang was launching a new channel that was specifically focused on Lego reviews in a time where my love for Lego had been reignited, I had to get on that. Jalix Rosa. I thought I was a fairly good editor, and then I watched Jalix Rosa's videos and realized I am not. They're so badass. Please watch his videos. DIY Perks. I tend to like videos that show the process behind things, the decision making that goes into something, the thinking involved, all that good stuff. DIY Perks scratches that itch so hard. The things Matt has made on this channel are, for one, beautiful. His taste in aesthetics is so my cup of tea, but they're also just so cool. I could listen to him talk about his projects all day. Matt Draper. Matt Draper is also in that tier of just insanely consistent in both quality and quantity. How does he write like tomorrow won't arrive? How does he write like he needs it to survive? How does he write every second he's alive? I did a Hamilton reference in this. I forgot I put that in the script. I don't know. He just seems to really enjoy it. He's brought my attention to many comic books that I cannot wait to read, and is half responsible for my obsession with collecting Daredevil comics this year, the other half being a very dear friend of mine. Ben from Canada. I've been watching Mr. Sunday Movies for ages, and one of his editors, Ben from Canada, always had so much of his own personality shining through the edit. And when I found his personal YouTube channel this year, I was so stoked. Ben has a great perspective on art and media and always comes from a positive and loving angle, which is something I will always appreciate. I find it much more appealing to hear someone speak about things they love rather than someone complain about things that they hate. And Ben's videos are a great example of being able to just sit back and enjoy someone speaking about the things they're passionate about. Funky. Funky? Is it funk? Justin's videos are truly unlike anything else I've seen on the platform. His animation and musical skills are just a treat to watch. If you love the old Sequelitis videos by Aaron Hansen of Egoraptor, I think Justin's videos scratch that very specific itch. He makes me want to make my own videos better and try new things with my delivery and style. Can't recommend him enough. Nerdzoic. Figures were something I didn't have much passion for growing up, but this year I got really interested in them. Matt, also known as Big Nerdy, runs one of those channels where you get to listen to a cool guy talk about his interests and passions, and I love that kind of thing. I've learned a lot about the figure hobby, and hearing his personal anecdotes about memories tied to toys and toy hunting is always a very pure joy for me. Not Just Bikes. Again, I'm really into design, and Not Just Bikes has opened up an entirely new passion to me, that being city design. I've learned a lot from this channel, and it has also been another contributor to my growing disenchantment with the United States, the country I unfortunately call home. But Not Just Bikes has made one thing clear to me, that heaven does exist on Earth, it's in the Netherlands, and the key to the kingdom is learning Dutch.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Have you watched that channel? It's great.
No, I don't want to watch Dutch people.
Pixel Architect. Noah of Pixel Architect applies his architectural design experience with indie game development in pixel art, making a channel that breaks down the process behind the creation of his upcoming game, Chef RPG. Are you kidding me? That's a design nerd's dream. I adore Noah's videos, and I cannot wait to play Chef RPG and gawk at all the beautiful pixel art. I subscribe to way more people this year than I usually do, which I'm very happy about. I found a ton of new channels and really talented people that I just had no idea existed before, and I find myself inspired to make more of my own videos by everyone I spoke of here. And everyone else I subscribed to this year that I didn't go in depth about is just as great and deserving of your attention as everyone else I mentioned. Hopefully one day I can make my channel as great as all of these channels that I look up to. I really like video games, and I spend a stupid amount of money on video games. But honestly, I do not play video games very much. I stay very involved in the culture, so to speak. Like a lot of YouTube content I watch are game reviews and game retrospectives and gaming news, but yeah, actually indulging in the hobby by playing games is a bit of a rarity for me. So in 2021, I deliberately tried to play more games, and that went pretty well. Ghosts of Tsushima. I started the year off by getting the rest of the trophies for Ghosts of Tsushima. So really I played it more in 2020 when my hours at work got significantly cut due to COVID. But I did want to mention it here because I did play it for a bit in 2021, and it's awesome. And one of 3 games I've platinumed. I love the combat, love the setting, the music, and the art direction. So many AAA games with art direction meant to be representative of real life just focus on graphical fidelity. And the worlds, to me, just look kind of boring. But Ghost of Tsushima puts so much emphasis on color and light that it is simply beautiful to look at from start to finish. Paper Mario and the Origami King. Paper Mario and the Origami King has cool music and is really funny, but the ring puzzle gimmick of the combat was just not enjoyable to me, and it really killed the pace I was playing it at. I haven't beaten it yet, but I do intend to one day. Borderlands, the pre-sequel. I played Borderlands 2 locally with my friend Blue years ago, and we had so much fun with it, just slowly chipping away at it over the course of months every other weekend when we would hang out together outside of school. So it was exciting to hop back into the world of Borderlands after so long. My friend Leah is a huge Borderlands fan, and she got a Switch last year, so we both picked up the Legendary Collection and played pre-sequel together since it's her favorite. I loved the low gravity ground pound mechanic, and had a blast building out Athena to play like Captain America, but specifically the R-rated Captain America from the Corridor video. It was a great way to spend more time with Leah and talk with her every week since she doesn't live near me, and I just had a blast playing it. Monster Hunter Rise. Monster Hunter Rise, baby! Yeah, let's go! Monster Hunter is probably my favorite game series. I played 3U and Generations Ultimate to death, and I remember thinking, damn, all I really want from the games industry right now is a new Monster Hunter game on the Switch using the RE engine with more of an emphasis on classic hunting, since I felt World lost some of that classic charm. And then they went and announced exactly what I was wanting. So yeah, it's the best Monster Hunter game. I love it so much. Dragon Age Inquisition. I've actually been playing Dragon Age Inquisition since 2019. Leah got it for me for my birthday, and I'm just so bad at finishing games, especially long-ass games like Dragon Age. So I was still playing and loving it in 2021. I have yet to beat it, but hopefully someday soon I will. I mean, I'm like 2 missions from the end. I really just need to sit down and wrap it up. I'll save more thoughts on the game for later because I think it's something I want to dedicate a full video to, so stay tuned in like 3 years or something, knowing me. The 2D Metroid games. I played the 2D Metroid games in 2021 in preparation for Metroid Dread and had a ton of fun with them. The genre of Metroidvania is something I didn't think sounded like my cup of tea, matcha, but it ended up surprising me with just how much I enjoyed it, like an Earl Grey London fog. I should drink tea more often. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on the series, well, you're in luck because I have a whole ass video about them and my experience playing them. So feel free to watch that if you so please. I, like many people, do not read as often as I'd like to. Reading is one of those things that I always enjoy while I'm doing it, but for whatever reason, it's something that takes a lot for me to sit down and commit to doing. Part of this is likely my diminishing attention span because of this demon brick on me at all times. I made good on an old childhood dream and started picking up a lot more comic books in 2021 that I'd been interested in for years, and finally read a lot that had been chilling on my bookshelf for the longest time too. And believe it or not, I actually read a couple novels this year too. Yeah, I know. Literally just 2 novels, but that is 2 more novels than I read for leisure in the last 10 years, so I'm counting that as a win. Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith. Growing up, I only ever had standalone graphic novels or one-off comic book issues, so collecting the entire 5-volume series of Darth Vader by Kieran Gillen was a pretty big deal to me as a teenager, since it was the first complete comic run I ever owned. That series was getting a lot of talk when it first came out, since it was widely considered to be the best Star Wars comic under the new publication of Marvel. After reading it, I could say it definitely lived up to the hype. So when the next run of Darth Vader started coming out, called Dark Lord of the Sith by Charles Soule, and I heard there was going to be more exploration of Sith lore and Vader's struggle with his emotions and decisions to get him to this point in his life, I knew I would absolutely be reading this series when it was fully released. I was gifted it for my birthday by my parents. Love you, Mom and Dad. And after reading it in like a week, I'm happy to say that the Vader title remains some of the best Disney-era Star Wars stories out there. And I cannot wait to pick up the next run and read Soule's run on Daredevil as well. Invincible, volumes 1 through 25. Invincible volumes 1 and 2 and Witches were the first trades I ever picked up from my local comic store back in 2018 or so. A fun memory with that is that the guy behind the counter got super excited that I was picking up Invincible and said that I had really good taste and gave me 10% off my entire order. That was awesome. It was so much fun to finally get through the whole story like 3 years later, and once it gets its hooks in you, it is nearly impossible to put Invincible down. I absolutely flew through it. Robert Kirkman is so good at dropping these little threads and teases for arcs that'll be fleshed out later on, and when the story goes in an interesting direction, it usually takes its time with it and lets you get invested. Some of my favorite moments in Invincible are when the status quo gets shaken up and the new normal is thoroughly explored, especially when a lot of other stories I'm invested in seem so quick to get back to how things were, rather than take their time to see how the characters feel and react to their new situation. And for the cherry on top, Invincible truly has one of the most satisfying endings out of maybe any long-form story I've ever experienced. I put down the final volume feeling complete and sat there and just absorbed it for a while. It was that good. Court of Thorns and Roses. A Court of Thorns and Roses is my friend Leah's favorite book series ever. So in my efforts to get back into reading, this seemed like a good place to start. Especially since I think it's a lot of fun to have someone to talk with about a book while you're reading it. It helps me to keep the pace up and makes the crazy moments of the plot even more fun since you have someone to be excited about it with. Fantasy romance is definitely not a genre I've read before, and I mean, I'm clearly not the target demographic, but I personally believe it's important to engage with entertainment that is not specifically meant for you. It's a great way to connect with perspectives and experiences that may be foreign to you, and to broaden your taste a bit. I think Sarah J. Maas is a talented writer, and I loved her voice throughout the story. It never felt distracting in a way some authors' voices can be. Like, I felt every word I read was something that truly would be said or thought by Feyre, the main character who the perspective of the story is told. I'm really glad I gave A Court of Thorns and Roses a chance, because it probably isn't something I would have checked out on my own were it not for the recommendation from a friend. And now I'm realizing I really enjoy the fantasy romance genre. And it's humbling knowing that no one will ever describe me in the way Feyre describes Tamlin. Arms made out of corded muscle that is so fucking hot. Perks of Being a Wallflower. Another book recommendation by a friend. Perks of Being a Wallflower was a really great 2-day read. It's the kind of book/story I really enjoy, where you read about someone's experience as they live their life. Trauma is a pretty big theme here, and it definitely left me in tears at a few different points, both from sweet and sad moments. This is an easy recommendation to anyone wanting to get back into reading, since it's so short, and I think this story is something that a lot of different people can enjoy. Uzumaki, Nailbiter, Immortal Hulk. In September and October, I was in a spooky kind of mood, so I finally read through some of the horror comics I've been meaning to get around to for a while, namely Uzumaki, Nailbiter, and The Immortal Hulk. If you want to hear my thoughts on them, feel free to check out my Halloween video from last year, but I warn you, I tried to go for a chill, non-scripted type of video, and it feels kind of like a rambly mess, so watch it at your own discretion. Usually the way I find new songs is through YouTube Music's Discover playlists, or I'll catch something in a show or a movie I like and look it up. But in 2021, I wanted to listen to more albums. On a surface level, listening to more albums by artists I already enjoy in passing meant finding more songs similar to the ones I already like. But beyond that, I also wanted to connect with music on a deeper level this year than just finding songs that are fun to listen to. With movies or TV shows, I like engaging with them on a level more than just a first watch. I like watching reviews to see other people's opinions. I like checking out behind the scenes documentaries, interviews with the people involved in its creation, and having more analytical conversations with some of my friends who are passionate about the medium like me. With music, I don't really engage that much with all this additional material that could increase your appreciation of a work, and I feel that listening to more albums could help me connect more with what an artist is trying to do, and get me to check out more things like album reviews and discussions. So with all that being said, these are the albums I listened to in 2021. Also, by the way, I really don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to music, so all I can really offer as far as my thoughts on each album basically boils down to good, me like, yes. Phoebe Bridgers, Punisher. Kyoto was my favorite song I listened to in 2021, hands down. Brockhampton, Roadrunner. After Brockhampton's first pop-centric album, Puppy, was canceled, they followed up with Ginger, their saddest album yet. For their next album, would we finally get the pop-focused record we were hoping for? No! Roadrunner is so fucking sad. I love me some Brockhampton, but Roadrunner is definitely the album I throw on the least. Not because it's bad, it's really good, but God, it just ruins my mood. Joji, Nectar. Nectar to me really shows Joji is star material. The improvement on this record compared to his previous works is insane. I feel the guy just keeps getting better and better and has successfully cemented himself in the public zeitgeist as a serious musician and not just a YouTuber wannabe pop star who occasionally releases a rap song. Genesis Owasu, Smiling with No Teeth. Want to turn up while also facing your depression? This is the album for you. Porter Robinson, Nurture. My friends and I all were in love with Worlds back in high school, and the music video and song itself for Shelter has become something like an anthem for the latter parts of my high school memories. So to see Porter come back with such a pretty, delicate, and cozy album was exactly what I needed in 2021. Nurture's sound is clearly very anime inspired, and Porter even directly references Anohana on the track Something Comforting. That is one of my favorite anime of all time. So yeah, this album is very special to me. And I listen to Wind Tempos most nights before bed because it's just so beautiful. SZA, Control. I don't really listen to Travis Scott much, but oh my God, his feature on Love Galore? Let me come inside, let me plant that seed inside you. Lil Nas X, Montero. I don't know how the hell Lil Nas X managed to drop a debut album with 0 skips, but he pulled it off. Montero slaps start to finish, and Nas has proven time and time again that he's not just a one-hit wonder. So I'll be paying closer attention as he continues to release new music in the future. The 1975, Notes on a Conditional Form. I listened to a ton of the 1975 singles throughout 2021, so checking out this album was an inevitability. Their music is so insanely catchy, and they've got enough variety in their sound where I feel I can throw on something by them for whatever mood I'm in. They are also the band I sing along to the most in the car, where no one can hear me. My singing sounds like a wet cat screaming. Let me come inside, let me plant that seed inside you. Silk Sonic, An Evening with Silk Sonic. This debut album from Silk Sonic is a road trip staple for me. The talent, the charisma, the vibes, they're all immaculate. Of course, that should be expected from a collab between Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars, and yet they still exceeded my already pretty lofty expectations I had from the teaser tracks. Stand Atlantic, Skinny Dipping, Pink Elephant, Sidewinder. Pop punk was always on pop radio when I was a kid. All American Rejects, Green Day, My Chemical Romance. That grungy emo sound they all shared was something I grew up with, and that my very first iPod Shuffle was filled with. I had grown apart from that sound as my music taste evolved and matured, and I started listening to more music in the space of hip hop or alternative rock. So it felt good to come back to that sound in a big way in 2021 with Stand Atlantic. They are probably the artists I listened to the most last year, and Skinny Dipping especially is an album I have on all the time. Also, Bonnie. For the longest time, if I was watching movies or TV, it would be something I had already seen before. A lot of the time, it's just easier to put on something I know I'll enjoy. And by rewatching things I already love, I'll often find something more to enjoy about it. But I wanted to make a conscious effort of watching new things and experiencing films and shows I wouldn't normally be necessarily drawn to in an attempt to broaden my taste and gain artistic influence and inspiration from new voices and stories. I think I did a pretty good job of this, so let's get into what I watched. Anime. This was the year I was getting back into anime, which was a medium I was really into at the beginning of high school, but only would delve back into from time to time in the following years. Animation is something I'm hugely passionate about, and anime is one of the few areas where 2D animation is truly thriving. I also really value art that can move me and force me to feel things, and a lot of the anime I've watched is very sincere with its emotions and ideas it's discussing, and will, if I'm being honest, bring the tears out of me. I have a whole video on My Hero Academia, so feel free to watch that for my thoughts on it. I haven't watched that video in a long time, so it may suck. I don't know, just be warned. Other than My Hero Academia though, most anime I watched in 2021 were on Netflix. Netflix actually has some really solid anime offerings. Great Pretender was a lot of fun. And I also watched Violet Evergarden this year, and it is now one of my favorite anime of all time. The music and animation is stunning. Violet is a wonderfully three-dimensional character with a really satisfying arc, and the show made me cry so many times, just how sweet it was. Really worth checking out. This may be the best anime I've seen for introducing people to the medium. Like, I would totally watch this with my parents. They would love it. Blood of Zeus sucked though. Total waste of my time. It's always kind of a coin toss when it comes to Netflix. Demon Slayer was fine, I guess. Okay, I should probably elaborate on that one. I don't want to piss anyone off. I think the animation was fantastic. The character designs are instantly iconic. The story is even pretty cool. But half the main cast are insufferably annoying. Every word out of their mouth was nails on a chalkboard. And I'm pretty tolerant of annoying characters in anime. But Inosuke, and especially Zenitsu, made me want to commit neck rope. They totally killed my enjoyment of the series. TV. 2021 was where Disney Plus started making some serious plays to be a relevant streaming service, which is good because when it debuted, there felt like there was literally no point in being subscribed other than The Mandalorian. I watched every MCU show that came out in 2021 because I'm a pretty big fan, but I feel like all these shows actually kind of hurt my relationship with the MCU. Sorry, we're not gonna get into this. I had this whole mini script written about my thoughts on the MCU and Star Wars and Disney, but it would have dominated the rest of the video. So it's best to scrap it and save those more in-depth thoughts for a different video. Just know that I did watch every Disney Plus show from Marvel and Star Wars, and I liked them enough. But yeah, let's talk about something else. Superman and Lois. Superman and Lois was easily one of my favorite things I watched last year. Not just favorite TV, but one of my favorite things I watched, period. I was pretty big into Arrow and Flash when those first came out, but they really lost me the longer they went on, and it felt like the writing fell apart. So when I heard that the actor who played Superman in the Supergirl show, which I heard wasn't all that great to begin with, was getting his own show on the CW, and that he would have 2 teenage sons in it, I was certain the show was not going to be for me. The CW got kind of infamous for a while there with its surface level petty teenage drama, and with teenagers being half of the main cast of Superman and Lois, I was anticipating some cringe. But then I sat down and watched the pilot, and in the first 5 minutes, just wow.
Here you go, friend.
Thanks. Cool costume.
Thanks. My mom made it for me.
A classic Lake eats his words moment. Superman and Lois finally gives us a version of the character in live action that is so beloved from the comics, and the strength of the character carries the show. But honestly, it's really not that heavy of a burden, because all the supporting characters are consistent, three-dimensional, and easy to love and understand. The score by Dan Romer too is just so powerful. It helps sell the sincerity of emotion in every scene it's used. It is the music I think of when I read Superman comics or think of the character. Which is crazy because the music Hans Zimmer did for Superman is something I have loved for so long. And yet it's Dan Romer's take that is cemented in my mind as the definitive sound for Superman. True Detective Season 1. I don't have much to say about True Detective other than that it's really good and that this line still haunts me.
I think of the hubris it must take to yank a soul out of non-existence into this meat.
Ugh, think about that line all the time. Arcane. I love watching animation that doesn't look like anything I've ever seen before. I love worlds that are deep and interesting and fleshed out. I love characters with complex motivations and relationships with one another. And also, I love when something as fantastical as Arcane takes itself seriously. I really loved Arcane and I cannot wait for the next season. Please watch Arcane if you haven't, so Netflix will know that there's an audience for adult animated dramas. So hopefully we can keep getting good ones. Movies. So my main goal as far as consuming media for 2021 was to watch as many movies as possible that I've never seen before. I really wanted to broaden my taste and watch things that didn't even necessarily interest me, but that I heard were good. I think I was pretty successful with this. I did watch a handful of movies that I had seen before, but the push to watch more new stuff definitely paid off. There's a lot here, so I definitely am going to brush over things a bit, but if you want to take a closer look at everything I watched and get more of my thoughts on anything specific, the full list will be pinned in the comments, and you can ask me to elaborate on anything you may be curious about down there. Paddington and Paddington 2. I had wanted to watch the Paddington movies after the Patrick Explains video on them, and I'm so glad I finally checked them out. I'm a sucker for sweet moments, and good God, Paddington 2 made me ugly cry from its sweet ending, like full sob. Raya and the Last Dragon. I was really excited for Raya and the Last Dragon, but it actually was one of my few disappointments from the year. The world felt better suited for a TV series since there was a lot of cool stuff there, but not nearly enough time to flesh it out. The humor was that weird Disney thing where it's really modern and self-aware, which feels really out of place in a setting like this. Just like when Maui makes that joke about Twitter in Moana. I hate that. Ugh. And the whole time I kept thinking I would be way more into it if it were a musical. It seems perfect for that. I don't know why they didn't do that. Nothing offensively bad here. It just really fell short of my expectations, and that's a bummer. Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think Zack Snyder's Justice League is an improvement over the original in basically every way, but is it selfish for me to want like a 2-hour and 45-minute cut of this movie? It was worth setting aside 4 hours for, but I don't know if I want to do that again anytime soon. Also, Flash and the Speed Force was one of my favorite superhero moments in a long time, so that was cool. Godzilla versus Kong. Big monkey punch big lizard punch big robot. Why was Bear McCreary not on the soundtrack? He was the best part of King of the Monsters. I missed you, Bear.
Films by Quentin Tarantino.
I did a lot of movie nights with one of my friends in 2021, and he insisted I had to watch Quentin Tarantino's films since I never had before. I'm glad I gave them a shot, especially since Tarantino's films just never really interested me at all. I'd say his style isn't really my taste, but an artist having a distinct style and voice in their work is something I will always appreciate. And going through his movies gave me an appreciation for the stories he's interested in telling and the techniques he chooses to use. I'd say my favorites were probably Inglourious Basterds and Hateful Eight. The former saying fuck historical accuracy and opting for historical catharsis instead, which I loved. And the latter being insanely engaging considering it's 3 hours long and takes place in basically one room. I've still got a few of his to watch, but these were the ones I managed this year and I had a good time with them. The Fast and Furious series. As an edgy teenager, I would roll my eyes every time I saw a trailer for a new Fast and Furious movie, thinking that they looked stupid. My mature palate for films made Fast and Furious seem like it was beneath me and not worth my time. Teenage me was a little shit, fuck that guy. These movies are awesome. I have Patrick Willems and Cosmonaut Marcus to thank for convincing me to check them out, and what a wild ride it was. The first few movies are pretty low-key, but the action just gets ridiculous the longer it goes on for, and I am so here for it. Some people say skip the first 4 and go straight to 5, but I hard disagree on that. The beginning of the series really establishes the characters and sincerity of the family themes that are going to be persistent throughout all 9 installments. I think that is crucial to how much I enjoyed 5, and especially 9, and of course the ending of 7 being the final movie with Paul Walker. If you haven't seen the Fast Saga, don't be dumb like me, give them a spin, they're a lot of fun. Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe Origins. Snake Eyes was the most forgettable movie I watched in 2021. That's the one thing I remember about it. Also, how are you gonna put Rama in your movie and not do anything cool with him? The hell?
The Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad was one of my favorite superhero movies in a long time. I loved how it looked, I loved the characters, I loved the music, and I loved the feels, man. All about the feels. James Gunn's style is definitely something that aligns very precisely with my taste, and I'm excited for more superhero projects from him in the future. Upgrade and Sunshine. I'm grouping Upgrade and Sunshine together because I have basically the same thing to say about both. They achieve a lot on a smaller budget, have really striking visuals, and are criminally underrated. I can't believe I don't hear more people talk about these movies. They're so dope. Biggest surprises for me this year. I heard they were good, but they really blew me away. Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills. Halloween 2018 was my first Halloween movie, and it kind of kicks ass. I was very impressed by it. It was funny, well-paced, scary, creative. I kind of loved it. And then I watched Halloween Kills in theaters and was very disappointed. Big quality whiplash watching those two back to back. Last Night in Soho. Last Night in Soho was one of the best movies of 2021 in my opinion. I really appreciate Edgar Wright stepping out of his comfort zone and trying something a little out of the box compared to what a lot of people expect from him. This is one of those movies that was so good I want to own it. Specifically, this sick steelbook version. Tick, Tick, Boom. I really enjoy musicals. I also really enjoy Andrew Garfield. And I like Lin-Manuel Miranda. So Tick, Tick, Boom was a pretty sweet combo for me. I didn't know much about Jonathan Larson before I heard about this movie, but I love how much love was put into this telling of this very specific chapter of his life. The music and performances were incredible, and I think I watched it like 2 more times that month after I saw it for the first time. Spider-Man No Way Home. The hype leading up to Spider-Man No Way Home was maybe a little more memorable to me than the movie itself, but I still had a really good time. Honestly, Spider-Man 2 is one of my favorite movies of all time, and having that version of Peter come back and to know that he's been doing this the whole time really struck a chord with me. Like, he suffers so much in those movies being Spider-Man, and yet here he is 14 years later, and he never gave up. He kept being Spider-Man and doing the right thing because that's his responsibility, no matter how much it hurts sometimes. It's good to have you back, Tobey. So, yeah, there you go. That was every piece of media I consumed in 2021. I'm really proud of myself for sticking to the list and keeping up with it all year. For someone as forgetful as me, that's quite the accomplishment. I'm also very happy with myself for getting this video done, no matter how irrelevant it currently is in December of 2022. But yeah, I'm pleased. Hopefully the future Lake editing this is doing okay too. I hope you all are engaging with and enjoying the media and art that you consume, and hopefully trying some things outside your usual taste as well. Thank you all very much for taking the time to watch my video. It really means a lot to me. I will see you all next time in my video about 2022. Hopefully in January of 2023. God, I hope that ages well.